First in the show will be Michaela Munson for the children's team competition round. Well, very good morning from Traverse City, Michigan, back underway with the second day of these FEI North American Youth Championships. We have a very exciting day. All the sections will jump today in the Gotham North FEI North American Youth Jumping Championships presented by USHJA. But we're starting things off with the children's jumper team competition. All of these riders jumped off in the first individual qualifier yesterday, posted their initial scores, and now they are going to give their best effort in this team competition. They'll each jump twice in order to post those final scores for their teams in their respective zones. And alongside me for today's competition is show jumper Allie Wolf. Welcome, Allie. So happy to have you here.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here.
It's a beautiful day here in Traverse City, and we are watching our first entry on the course, Michaela Munson with Charlene. I believe she is representing a combined team of Zone 7.
Yeah, and that's never a great start, but, you know, they've come so far to get here, and I'm sure they'll take away a lot from this competition. You know, this is a big ask for these kids, and especially riding on a team event. It's such a different pressure. And it just looked like she misjudged maybe the line a little bit. I think the horse maybe stared down a little bit. There's some stone little walls underneath that third fence. It's a little bit spooky, so if the horse doesn't really get a full eye on it, then they could kind of stare down. It just looked like that's maybe what happened a little bit, just a miscommunication.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did see quite a few horses study that fence yesterday, even in the FEI division. That jump was not an easy one to jump, and I think it's definitely a challenge that the course designer has built in today, having it go very early and a little bit of a, like you said, a tough line. Bit hard to follow that track, so just hope that everyone is okay.
Yeah, and you also have to take into account, you know, it's 8 o'clock. The shadows are pretty strong here, so what may look like an unassuming half wall, you know, with the shadows could play a bigger factor. It could look a little bit darker. They might stare down a little bit more and maybe miss that top rail. The top rail is also brown, so it's a little bit of like misjudging, if you will. There's also a bit of like an aqueduct underneath it, so they could also stare at the gap there. There's just a lot to look at for that airy vertical.
Well, rider's back and up on her feet and walking out of the ring alongside her horse, so good to see that everyone is okay there, and just an unfortunate ending to their trip here at the North American Youth Championships, but I'm sure they will be back for another day. The nice thing about the children's division is it is the first of 4, so these riders will have the opportunity to move up in the future and tackle bigger divisions here.
Exactly, and if they're already doing this at this age, you know, they're on a pretty strong trajectory. And just like you said, there's like 3 other divisions that they can move up to next year, depending on their age category as it's broken down. But again, like this is set at about 1.20 meters, so technically, you know, the children in the U.S. qualify under the 1.15 meters, 1.10 division. So what they're jumping really is like about the low junior height. So this is, you know, if you're already jumping this at what, 13, 14 years old, you're a pretty strong rider at this point.
Well, we see some pretty strong team spirit coming in for our next rider. It's our first rider for Zone 4. This is Haley Guidry and Esmeralda EHZ. Haley riding for Honor Hill Farm, and the first thing she does is gives her horse a look at that fence. I think we might see quite a few riders letting their horses study that a little bit.
Yeah, Zone 4 has put together a really strong team. I think, Kim Lin has done an amazing job with this zone. And Zone 4 comprises Florida, which is always a very popular and strong state to represent, as, most of the riders go to Florida for the winter. So some have residences there. And out of the 20 possible riders you're allowed to have in your zone qualify, she has 19. So she also has alternates, which is fantastic.
At Granite designing courses all week here for these young riders, and Zone 4 currently on a 0 score after yesterday, so looking pretty good. They are in a tie at the top alongside a combined team for Zones 1 and 2.
And it looks like this horse has a little bit of a short stride, either that or it's kind of a little bit backed off of some of these fences. As you can tell, she did the bending 8 in the first line, which I think you'll see majority of people do, and then she decided to pull it together again for another 8. I think you'll see a lot of horses maybe do 8 and 7. She had to go a little bit for that next 4 to the 1, but she's, she knows this horse, riding pretty strong, and I think now they've kind of leveled out a little bit.
On something that these young riders probably will benefit from, they'll get a chance to jump this course again. So even if it's not quite perfect the first time, they can kind of go out with their trainers and analyze it a little bit and get to come back and jump it again. But Haley Guidry coming out of the gate with a clear there. So nothing to add for her score or for her team's score.
Yeah, exactly. Just like what you said, the benefit to this 2-round competition, they get to jump it a second time, so that's maybe good or bad for you, depending on your horse and your the rider. So, they get to go back and kind of perfect what they didn't like in the first round. Depending on the horse as well, it's either a good thing or a bad thing. It's a good thing if the horse is maybe studying the fences a little bit or a little bit backed off or careful. If the horse is pretty brave and you go in a second time, maybe they won't really pay as much attention.
Amelia Burnside up next riding for Zone 2. And the team is a combined Zones 1 and 2 team, also coming forth on a 0 score. Amelia rides Casper Van Het Lilahoff.
She rode that nicely. She stayed out for that second 8. I think she watched the girl before her. That 7 is just a little bit forward, especially for the beginning of the course. And then eased nicely in the 4 to the 1. These riders also still have to take into account the time allowed. So they do need to kind of stay on that track, stay on that path and that pace, as well as keeping those fences up.
Yeah, we saw the time allowed yesterday was just a hair tight. A few riders ended up accumulating time faults, which is probably also something they're not particularly used to. The children's jumpers usually ride pretty quickly anyway, but time allowed is in their respective divisions in the U.S. is usually pretty generous.
Yeah, and on top of that, the pressures of riding with a team, there's a lot going on in these kids' heads right now. She just looked like she got a little bit deep to that U.S. equestrian vertical, just towed it. That top pole is even just a very thin plank. It's so delicate that you just breathe on it and it'll come down. That's unfortunate to just have that one down, but I thought the round super solid.
So moving along to an individual competitor. He's from Zone 4, so we see a little bit of that Zone 4 pizzazz that he's put on his horse. This is Colin Sweetenham. He's aboard Cobalt for Sweet Oak Farm. And this is a horse that did this very division last year with Colin's sister Olivia, passing on the reins to Colin here this year.
Yeah, I think Colin is maybe an alternate for Zone 4. This horse has kind of been through the family. I think they bred this horse. It was seen first with Shane, and then with one of his riders, his clients, and then I think now with Colin. And this horse has just been a fantastic family horse.
Yeah, it's probably really special for Shane and Allie to get to watch their kids both learn the jumper ropes, and hopefully their youngest Lucy will end up with the ride as well.
I think he did the 8 and stayed out again for the 8. He maybe didn't want the ride that he had yesterday. He just had a few down yesterday. I know he was a little bit disappointed, but this is a marathon this weekend, not a sprint. So I think as long as he can kind of keep it together, he has definitely the ability to rise up.
Mm-hmm. Well, and especially for those, Colin may not necessarily be putting his score towards a team score today, but for those who maybe didn't have their best round yesterday, it's so important to put that in the past and ride your best 2 rounds today for your team, because it's all about, I mean, at the end of the day, your 2 scores today probably are going to impact the team score more so than yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. And, he may not have the pressure of riding for the team, but he's still riding for his zone. As you can tell, he's decked out in zone 4 gear. So that's great to have a sense of team camaraderie. Mm-hmm. They definitely do zone 4, and you'll be definitely seeing a lot more of that orange and blue.
Well, clear round there for Colin. So clearly came out stronger today. Testament to good mental strength there that I'm sure he got from his dad. We move on to a Zone 10 rider, Nico Alario, aboard Pegasus Lewis for Estancia Farms. And Zone 10 only has 3 riders, so they don't have the benefit of a drop score. So they're currently sitting on 8 penalties.
Yeah, so with a team of 3, it's obviously added more pressure. You do not get the ability to drop a score, which means all of your scores count. That is a little bit more difficult, but Zone 10 is a little bit unique in the fact that they also have qualifiers to actual qualifying classes at their horse shows to come here. Unlike other zones, all those riders kind of get points throughout the year off different horse shows in different states. So just a little bit different in that aspect. He's putting a nice course together. It's very smooth so far. This is the plank that we saw come down already. Nicely cleared that.
Yeah, Nico yesterday came in on a clear. And like he's doing today, it's a very technical ride that he's putting in. He's riding it very accurately, and he did the same thing yesterday.
He knows that his score is going to count for sure. You can tell that he's kind of keeping it pretty cool. A little bit of a gallop to that last, but he really trusts his horse, and he's able to take almost a completely clear round.
Yeah, just 1 on the clock there, ever so slightly over the time allowed of 71 seconds. So it's unfortunate there, a bit of that technicality. You saw him really collect for a couple of those difficult verticals, and that just ended up costing him slightly on the clock. But 1 time fault is better than a rail down, so things still hopefully will keep them in the running.
Exactly, and it could be a decisive factor, at the end of the day, especially when we just said all these scores count. And a little bit the benefit, I guess, to a 3-rider team is that they are able to kind of skip that first section, if you will, that first rider's position. So, while he was technically first in the order, as his team is, he didn't have to go until about 5th in the order.
Up next, we are watching another individual competitor representing Honduras. This is Lanier Perez and Diva Dean. This pair made an appearance here last year, Tacoma silver medal. And a really accomplished horse as well. The horse has made appearances at the Central American Games as well as the Caribbean Games. And also actually has 2 individual silver medals at the North American Youth Championships.
So it's definitely been there, done that. It's definitely seen, all these fences before. I want to say he trains with Juan Andres, if I'm not mistaken. So, training with Juan, he's a incredibly strong rider as well as competitor. I believe he's also had some medals in some of these Central Games, and that was a beautiful round.
It was a really strong round there. No surprise. Seems like a really brave horse.
And it's nice that we're starting to see kind of some of these other countries able to come in and compete where they may not have had that chance before. Honduras, I know we have Jamaica later on. It's really nice to kind of include some of these other countries in the mix.
Moving on to our second line riders for the remainders of the teams. I believe that's it for our individual athletes. So second rider for the combined Zone 7, 8, and 9 team is Evan Werner aboard CC Contador WB DWB. This horse is just 9 years old, and they put in a beautiful clear yesterday, just a few time faults.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you know, she added down that first line. You know, she added a little bit down that line. She's really got to think about the time allowed. The pressure's on her as well, as her other teammate had a score of elimination. So her score is definitely going to need to count, and she's going to need to pick it up a little bit on that pace if she wants to get under the time.
They came into this event with 2 faults total for their team. They actually, with the 3, were the drop score yesterday. So they're looking in pretty good shape. There are, of course, 2 teams that came in on a clear slate, but with 2 rounds of jumping for everyone today, that could all change.
Yeah, I think the biggest factor right now is just to watch her time. You know, every second counts as 1 penalty, so just had the rail at the last, plus the time fault.
This looks like a total of 5 there, brings her individual score up to 8. So time allowed is proving to be a little tight there. I didn't think she was, you know, she wasn't necessarily keeping the highest pace, but she was pretty tidy everywhere.
Yeah, she definitely kept it tidy. You know, I think her time fault came from 1, 2, and 3, and then 4 and 5 she added a stride. So, but with all that, keeping it tidy does prove that you can go under the time. You know, Nick Granite did a great job of designing this, where time is a factor. It's not the factor, but it's just something that you always have to kind of keep in the back of your head. So if you want to try and set a horse up too much for a jump, you're kind of wasting a little bit of time there and sacrificing that.
Well, and definitely good preparation for the higher levels of the sport, where time allowed is always a factor.
Exactly, and
Good
especially
practice.
in big arenas like this, you can get so lost around those big corners. You know, usually these kids are used to smaller arenas. Maybe some have seen these bigger arenas, but it's just a lot of galloping.
Next rider for Zone 4, Layla Murad and Alphonsine Mancias, riding for Leaden Ridge Farm LLC.
Already she has a much stronger pace, which is great. Did the 4 to the 1 really nice. Ooh, took a bit of a long one there, but got away with it. Needs to pull it together just a little bit for this next fence. Definitely riding on that forward stride. You know, the horse just looks like it's more comfortable off that forward stride. Now she can kind of set it back a little bit. Got a good rub, lucky rub at A, but then it caught up with her at B, just for that 1 down.
So looks like 8 penalties in total for her individual score. I think she came in with 4. So 1 down in this round. So that puts Zone 4 still on the best possible score of 0. If the next 2 riders can jump clear, then Layla's score can be the drop.
And that just goes to prove, you know, if you do think about the time a little bit too much, it might catch up with you at the end. You know, Nick designed the last bit of the course a way that it's a bit delicate. So in the first half, you have to kind of think about that time allowed, keep your turns neat, keep it flowing. And then by the last half, you just have to kind of tone everything back down again.
Jordan Rich stepping in now. Jordan riding for Zone 1 and a combined Zone 1 and 2 team aboard Gina Collada for Hazelbrook Farm.
So far, their team looks like they're also in contention. So this is another score that could hopefully count, possibly drop that first score from Amelia.
Probably adds a little bit of pressure. When the first rider goes out and has a rail, it's probably a little more comforting going in knowing you might have a round to spare. However, 4 is probably going to end up being a pretty good score once all the scores come in at the end of the day.
Yeah, I feel like 4 faults is definitely a respectable score. Maybe not win for today. Who knows? We're pretty early on still through this class, and especially considering that's the second round that we still have left. Anything could happen at this point. She's definitely keeping that time in mind, which is great around this corner. There's a long gallop to 6 and a long way around to 7, which is that delicate plank. And then, really after 7, everything kind of has to slow down a little bit. So at this point, I think she just needs to kind of take it a little bit easy. Know that she did everything that she could for the time at this point.
Little rubs on all 3 elements of the triple combination, but still on the clear. Oh, beautiful round there. Comes home on the clear.
That was a great round. She really thought about that time allowed for that first half and then really kept the horse contained all the way home down that last line. Down that last line, it gets incredibly easy, very careful. The poles these days, it doesn't take much to knock one over, especially with a double of verticals coming out of that triple combination. That's a really delicate line. The horses see that they're coming home. They just want to get quicker and quicker. And then that last oxer has a little bit of a liver pull underneath it, which sometimes makes some horses peek down and have that front rail.
So second rider for zone 10, Kennedy Chang with Cadiz M for Odom Equestrian. They bring forward a score of 8. Riding for a team of only 3 members, so her score will count.
And while they brought forward, a score of 8, it's really anyone's game at this point. Nothing is lost yet. So already a score of 1 time fault for that first rider, Nico. It's not a bad score at all. But unfortunately, she does have that plank down. Just gets a little bit stretched out to that plank, a little bit shifty to the right. And it seems like this horse does have a significant right drift. I think her foot kind of just took out that standard there as he shifted.
So it looks like 2 down there, just doubling her score from yesterday. We'll continue on a score of 16, but 8 to add here today for the team, first round of the team competition.
That is unfortunate. I thought the horse jumped quite well. I want to say that looked like maybe her foot that took the standard, which was unfortunate that it wasn't the horse that touched the pole, it was her. So in theory, she almost had really 4 faults. But as long as the rail comes down, it is counted.
Rider joining us from Zone 8. This is Haley Honegger with Wild Hild. She had a clear round yesterday, contributing to the combined Zone 7, 8, and 9 team. And just 12 years old, already competing at this level. It's very impressive.
That is extremely impressive. I think I saw her actually compete here last week. She did the Kevin Babington class that is here. And she actually came all decked out in Irish flag gear, so that was really, really nice to see. Very cute.
She also already has some gold medal experience. She won team gold at the Zone Jumper Championships last year and team bronze at Pony Jumper Finals.
So even at 12 years old, she's no stranger to these team competitions, which is fantastic. I mean, the U.S. Has worked quite hard to kind of set up those team environments so these kids can kind of get team experience at a young age in the hopes that they can step up into the senior teams and be ready for those pressures. So far, this round is looking really good. I don't want to jinx her. I think the time should be okay. And she really fought hard for that clear round. That was
She really
great.
did. You could hear her even using her vocal aids. They clearly know each other really well, and I'm sure the start of a lot of great things that they will accomplish together. But they stay on a 0 score and contribute a clean round to their team. So they're currently on a total of 7 for that team. Best possible score of 7.
Another great, thing that these kids can ride on or get experience with is those zone championships like you were talking about. That's actually also held here earlier this year. It was last year. It also was put on by USHJA. So it's just another possibility for these kids to get team experience riding for each other and not just as individuals, and also to get experience riding here as well.
Next rider for Zone 4, which still sits on a best possible score of 0. Alexa Curry carries a score of 0 for her individual score with C Music Z for GA Stables. And I believe another repeat competitor. She was here last year competing as well.
It's always great to see the repeat competitors here. They keep coming back, getting experience, moving up the ranks, and it's nice that they keep participating.
Taking some top circuit championships at the Winter Equestrian Festival and the Jumpers. She was circuit champion in 2020, also 3rd overall in 2021. So it just goes to show her consistency.
Yeah, and that was unfortunate. Just had the skinny down. It's such a delicate pull, hard to see. Like I said, that last line is so careful. And that's just what she comes home with.
So just the 4 there to carry forward for Alexa.
So one of those 2 4 faults rounds has to count now at this stage.
So moving right along to Cecilia Chatterjee for Zone 2. Cecilia riding Quintano Fortuna for Oakland Ventures, and just an 8-year-old horse, actually. So young rider and a young horse partnering up for this event.
That is a young age, especially for the horses in these divisions, especially with the kids being young. Typically, you'll see a younger kid on a more experienced horse. So it is a little bit rare to see young and young.
Looks like they did jump clear yesterday, though, so hopefully they can continue that streak of luck.
And she kept the turn tidy, which is good because it looks like it's a little bit of a slower horse across the ground, so she just might have to think of that time allowed. Kept her turn tidy here. And this is really the first test of the delicate, and it's just so hard that plank, especially as you see it head on like the riders do, it just kind of blends into the background for those horses.
This is perhaps one of the more technical courses that a lot of these riders have jumped. And like you said, a little bigger as well. A lot of these riders actually have been competing in the low juniors, but
yeah, and I think that's mainly where they get the points from to qualify from here. This is definitely different material that they might see day to day. That pole on the top doesn't match the 2 poles underneath it. That one has kind of a starry night effect. It kind of blends in with a little bit of white speckling, and again, it is so delicate.
Well, that just leaves one rider left for each of our teams in this first round. They'll come back and jump an entire second round before the team scores are finalized. So right now, looks like we still have a tie at the top. Best possible scores for Zone 4 and the combined Zones 1 and 2 teams would be 4 faults. We have one team sitting on 9 and one team on 5. So it really could still be anyone's game at this point, I think. No matter how you come out and jump. We could see that team on 9 come out and jump completely clear from here on out. We could see a few more rails fall for the teams on fewer faults. So no one's really out of this yet.
Exactly, and you know, Nick did a nice job in designing this where it is, you know, leaves the door open for sure for a clear round. But with a rail coming here and there, it does mean that it kind of levels the playing field for all of these teams.
So yesterday's winner of the first individual qualifier, she's the fastest clear. This is Lauren Padilla with Diadem de Revel VG for Highland Farm. Rider coming from all the way out in California. And she was very fast yesterday. It's a very competitive class. Had quite a few finish on the clear. She was the fastest of them.
Yeah, her horse looks like it's naturally quick across the ground. So, you know, for a horse like this, you don't really need to worry so much about that time allowed. That just means you do have to worry about those fences, those really delicate fences. And, you know, coming off of a speed round, especially when you are the fastest from yesterday, that does take into account today. You know, the horse is maybe just thinking quick. Maybe it gets a little bit shifty, thinking it's going to turn right after the fence. So there's, you know, there's such a strategy going into these team events, especially coming off of a speed day.
It's coming home on the 4 there. Another kind of quick time, but the only thing she'll carry forward is that 4 faults. So it adds to the 9 that Zone 10 already had for a total of 13 for round 1.
That was too bad. It was a beautiful round. Other than that, you know, again, that's the whole point of this entire weekend. They want you to run fast the first day and then keep it together and controlled for the rest of the days. So it's really a test all around, horse and rider.
Zone 9's Isabella Smith next to go aboard Quinca. Another rider carrying a 0 score. And best possible score of 5 for this team.
So yeah, they're definitely still in the mix, even with the elimination from the first horse and rider. They can still pull it together. And so far, she's really keeping the horse nicely controlled, thinking about that time allowed. You know, here we come to the plank that's gotten quite a few already. And she set the horse up for the plank nicely. You know, she did take the time to set it up, so she just maybe has to think a little bit in the back of her head. Keep coming around that corner for the time allowed. And gets it done. That was really nice.
She keeps her score on a completely clean slate, came in on 0 and continues on 0. And that gives Zone 7, 8, and 9 a score of 5 for this round, so a total of 7 when combined with the 2 penalties they carried forward from yesterday. So I think overall pretty good position to be in.
Yeah, and that just goes to show, you know, even if one person, it may not be their day, you know, the rest of the team can definitely rally, and it's not over just because of one score. And that's the beauty to team competitions. You know, it could be anybody that didn't have a great day, but they are still in contention. It doesn't throw them out yet.
Final rider for Zone 4. This is Taylor Finkel. Another coming forward on a clear sheet. She rides Sheldon.
You can always tell Zone 4. They're decked out in the orange and blue, which is great to see.
Yeah, they're
sense
hard
of
to miss.
team.
And just part of the fun. I mean, there's so many fun events that they have for these kids. Last night there was an AYC trivia. They had media training earlier this week. They really make sure that there is no shortage of things to do, ways to learn, and fun activities.
Exactly, and this is kind of where you might meet some friends for life. This is where you might see competitors down the road years from now, or even ride on the same team with them years from now. So it's great that they've really added a lot of these events. They had like a online scavenger hunt. They had the parade of all the zones, followed by some pizza, serving pizza and s'mores, and just a lot of really fun activities. And she's doing a really nice job keeping this horse contained. It looks a little bit like a quicker horse. And that was beautifully ridden.
Well timed as well, so comes home on a completely clear sheet. So puts zone 4 on a total of 8. They came in on the clear. Just 2 rails to add here in round 1. And that leaves us with only 1 rider left in the first round of competition here this morning. And that rider is Riley True for zone 2. My Way B and V for owner Bridal Gate Farm.
So this is shaping up to be, pretty competitive group. Got a score of 7, score of 4. We'll have to watch this last rider to see if there's possibly a tie going into that second round.
This is another rider that took advantage of those zone jumper team championships earlier this season. She took the individual and team silver medals. So knows a little bit what it's like to compete in that team format.
Exactly, and I'm sure, she's maybe competed possibly with one of these girls on her team. Then you get to also know your teammates throughout the coming years being on the same teams with them. This also looks like a little bit of a quicker horse, which means that she doesn't have to worry so much about that time allowed being a factor, but really just kind of holding it together and making sure he doesn't get too quick for jumping these delicate fences like this plank here. So far, this is looking like a really nice round. This is going to be a test of rideability right here. Got away with a little bit of a rub. And a long distance, but brought it home for the 0.
So she keeps her score to 0 and keeps the team score, I believe, to just 4. They can drop one of those 4 fault scores, finish on a total of 4. And actually, I think I said 8 faults for zone 4, and they're just on the 4 as well. So we do have a tie there at the top as round 1 draws to a close. 2 teams finishing on just the 1 rail, but they come back and everyone will jump once more to decide final placings. And if we have a tie at the top, we will see a jump off. So it's zone 4, zones 1 and 2 tied at the top. We have zone 7, 8, 9 finishing on 5, so ever so slightly off. Just the 1 time penalty separating them from the top spot. Actually, they're finishing on 7, I believe. Yes. So total of 7 combined with yesterday's score. And then zone 10 just a hair off. They are sitting on 21 right now. So we're going to take a little bit of a break there. Let the ring crew drag and get ready for our second round of competition here for this children's team competition. So some really good jumping out there. I think we will probably continue to see some good rounds as the day goes on.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, the fun part is to see these horses and riders go in again. Try to, the ones on clear rounds, try to repeat that. That's now an additional pressure on them. They rode the first round great, and can they repeat that same thing? Especially the 4 faulters go in having something to prove. that might be a little bit more of a drive for them. And then definitely, those other riders can try and figure out what maybe went wrong in one jump or another and try to smooth that out. And it's also just great experience to go in and do it again. You never get that opportunity anywhere else.
Well, we're going to see them all get to go do that course once more, but we'll let our ring crew spruce up the footing quickly. We'll be back shortly with that second round.
U.S. Equestrian. Thousands of equestrians have united
to watch,
to learn,
to experience,
to compete. In the pursuit of fairness, safety, welfare, and joy.
From the grassroots to the Olympic Games.
Each with personal goals, but all united together for the joy of horse sports.
Ride united. Ride with U.S. Equestrian.
Normal. Nice. You can roll with that. Or you can roll the dice. Be the brave and boldly go a different way. A different wave is the risk taken by the gamers, chasing the glimmers. We're the risk takers, the loud laughers, the grand Traverse Bay late night swimmers. It's about the destination. It's about the way. And at Turtle Creek Casino in Traverse City, life is a game, and this is how we play.
With NetJets, travel will always be personal. We do everything it takes to make every flight exceptional. Every single detail of your experience is personalized, just for you. As our standard is not just to meet our definition of perfection, it's to exceed yours.
Whenever you shop Meijer, you shop for more than yourself. You help support sustainability in all our communities.
Thank you.
Today, tomorrow, and for years to come.
What makes good footing? More importantly, what makes safe footing? Is it the dimensions, the foundation, or the irrigation? What if we told you good footing is not a single aspect, rather the entire process, from the design and intended use to which arena builder you choose? With GGT footing, it's not just the most trusted arena additive in the world, but the experience and knowledge to ensure your footing is safe.
Equifit really takes a different approach to product development and to the materials that we use in our products. We're always looking outside to see what the sports world and medical worlds are doing, and we apply that to the equine athlete. We love horses, so that's just what really fuels us to do what we do.
We fly horses anywhere around the world, whether it is a hobby horse or it's an Olympic champion. It's about getting an animal from point A to point B safely, in best of health, and in the quickest possible of time. We understand the business better than anybody else. We do not leave any stone unturned, and we are staffed by horse people from every layer of the company. We give horses wings around the world, across the globe, or across the street.
As a third-generation insurance agency owner, I don't underestimate the responsibility that we have in protecting our clients.
At Fitzpatrick Insurance, it's all about the relationships. The stronger the relationship we have with our clients, the better we can anticipate their needs.
As an independent insurance agency, we partner with top-rated carriers such as Auto Owners Insurance.
This allows us to craft a comprehensive solution tailored to each client.
If you're looking to go out, go up, to get up and go. Whatever you're looking for, you and anyone you bring with you will find it all and more at the Grand Traverse Resort and Spa. Get up and go.
Do something different, just to see what happens. Make a plan, but go where the night takes you. Leelanau is a place that feels like home. That is home, after all. And after the work is done, the lights are on, its doors are open. Possibilities, if you're open, to what happens next, to a game. Friends play here. Leelanau Sands Casino.
2023 will be the 14th running of the Silver Oak Jumper Tournament. A 501c3 charity, from its founding, our mission has always been twofold. First, to provide a jumper show format where horses and riders are celebrated, with all the unique care imaginable. Second, our efforts have become inextricably intertwined with the Kevin Babington Foundation. If you think about it for a minute, it's so logical. If we are to promote and celebrate the sports athletes at their peak, how could we be less invested in supporting those living their worst nightmares recovering from spinal cord injuries, and this, the world's most beautiful sport. Together with our partners, the Morrissey Management Group, and the spectacular venue that is, in fact, Traverse City, we will collectively aspire to serve both objectives. So mark your show calendars and join us September 6th through the 10th. And for those who can't make it, you can be treated to the live streams from the Traverse City website on Horse Show Live. In the meantime, to Kevin, Kim, David, Alexis, and Jonathan Miller, know we will continue to be there for you. Please visit us at kevinbabingtonfoundation.org.
will start first in round 2 in reverse order of penalties from first competition to first round of team. Round 2 team order is reverse order of penalties from the best 3 athletes from first competition and best 3 athletes from round 1 of the team competition. We'll jump off from podium position if there are ties. Set things back up here. We'll have our first 2 individuals to go and round number 2 of today's competition here for the children's section of the North American Youth Championship.
Well, looks like we're all set to get back underway with the second round of jumping here in this Gotham North FEI North American Jumping Youth Championships presented by USHJA. It's the children's division. We already saw them all jump once in this team competition. We're about to get underway with round 2, so all athletes will jump a second time, including the individuals who will go at the top of the order. And then we get into our teams who will decide the final medal count for each of those teams. So it's been an exciting day of jumping so far, and there's still quite a bit to come with the pre-juniors and then the first individual qualifiers for the juniors and the young riders. But before we get there, one more round for these children's jumpers. And alongside me, Allie Wolf, show jumper, to help break down what's about to happen and the medals that these kids hopefully will get to win.
Yeah, this is an exciting second round. Like you said, we're going to start with the alternates first. So we have Colin as the alternate for Zone 4. He put in a great round this morning, or just, I guess, a little bit ago. We're hoping that he can kind of keep that and stick with the double clear for today.
He and this horse have clearly gotten to know each other really well over a fairly short time.
Yeah, this horse has been there, done that. He's seen everything. He used to do some of the Grand Prix, like I said, with his, it's been a family horse. This horse has been just fantastic. He is 17 at this point, so it's really nice to see him still going and to help, you know, show Colin some of the ropes of these difficult courses. You know, he's probably seen every jump in here, so it's just a matter of Colin keeping him a little bit contained and balanced, especially down this last line that we talked about was so delicate.
Well, Colin's moved up quite a bit himself in the past year. I believe here last year he was showing in the meter and doing it quite well, but now stepping up into, I believe this is 120, and puts in another clear round. So that's a double clear there, and that one's quite a bit faster, 65.51 on the clock. He brought in 12 penalties from day 1, but came back very motivated and put in that double clear that he needed to keep his score to a minimum here today.
Yeah, it just goes to show, you know, even if you don't have the best day on the first day, game's not over. You know, I think she should be extremely proud of himself that he was able to, you know, kind of collect from yesterday and put in a double clear, and that's a huge score right there.
It's another individual competitor. This one for Honduras. Lanier Perez returns. Mordi Vadine still on the completely clear slate. So really strong performance here so far. Was the silver medalist last year. So he's looking to improve upon that score, and I think he's well on his way to doing so. This is another horse that has been there, done that. 15-year-old. And clearly trusts this rider quite a bit.
Yeah, so just like you said earlier, I think you said this horse itself has seen a lot of medals. And so it's really nice, again, to have that experienced horse coming into these events. That's just a lot of weight off your shoulders, a lot of trust into the animal that you're partnering with to kind of help guide you around the course and help you out in those kind of situations. The kid just needs a little bit more leg. Just to get over some of those oxers, just to kind of help solidify the confidence of the horse. But, you know, so far it's looking like a really nice round. It is a careful enough horse. You know, he studies the fences nicely to find out where he should place his feet, and that was a beautiful round.
It was beautiful. They're coming out pretty quickly here. I think we saw a lot of the times right around the 69, 70-second mark in round 1, and so far we've seen 65 and 66 here in the second round.
So after they've been once around, you know, typically you will maybe see some of those times go up a little bit, you know, except for those that maybe were fast in the first round and maybe they were too fast. Maybe they should have balanced a little bit to that plank per se. So their times might be maybe a hair slower, but for reasons that they decided with their trainer that they needed to take a second here or there and kind of collect that horse. So already we're starting off extremely strong. 2 double clear rounds of the day.
And we're about to get into our teams. Looks like might still have some teams up in the warm-up. But it is incredibly close up at the top. We have a 2-way tie for the lead right now. Both Zone 4 and Zones 1 and 2 finished round 1 on a total score of just 1 rail. And we have 1 team on 7, 1 team on 21.
Yeah, it's shaping up to be a really exciting second round. You know, there is a possibility, especially in the children's team, of a tie. And if it is a tie for a medal placing, they will be going into the jump off. And I believe every member of the team is jumping off. So again, that's 4 or 3 more scores to put in there in the jump off, a speedier competition.
Yeah, they really do a good job with this event of mimicking a true championship. Follows the same format. The only difference here with the children's jumpers is they truly just carry their specific faults forward. So they turn it into kind of a decimal point number, but they're really just carrying forward any rails and any time faults that they incur, whereas when we get into the later divisions, they'll be carrying different scores that were multiplied by a certain factor that ends up being separating them off of the lead. So we'll get into that a little bit more as we get into the pre-junior competition, and of course later with our junior and young rider events.
Yeah, I believe it's just the children's competition that they just carry their fault scores throughout the entire few days. Unlike pre-juniors, juniors, young riders, their time from their first individual qualifier is multiplied by 0.5, and then it's taken into account the winner's time versus another person's time is subtracted about the difference of that time, and that's how you get kind of those weird numbers that you might see next to someone's name, a 5.71 or a 3.76. That's kind of how they came to that conclusion.
Well, it's a way that first round speed can really play a factor in the final results, because we do see for the children's, of course you want to go in and win the class on day 1, but it's ultimately the clear round that you're chasing, and the medalist at the very end might not necessarily have been the fastest clear on day 1. The most important thing is that they were a clear on day 1.
Exactly. This whole week is, a game of strategy. So you want to go clear and you want to be tidy or neat or fast that first day. And then it's all horse dependent from there, right? So you maybe don't want to go as fast as you can possibly go, depending on your horse. If your horse is already fast enough, you don't want to let it out of the box per se and unravel it for the days to come. You want to kind of keep that containment for that horse. You do jump, for the next 2 or 3 days. So there's definitely a lot of strategy going into each individual and how it pertains to their horse. Obviously, if you are the winner of that first competition, that gives you a significant advantage as you start on 0, even with that coefficient into play. So, each team, each trainer, each rider, they kind of come up with their own idea how best to prepare that horse for the days to come, especially for the team events. So that's also what we'll be seeing.
Well, these riders will get a day off tomorrow after 2 days in a row of jumping, also 2 rounds today, so that's quite a bit of wear and tear on their horses for the first 2 days, so they'll get a break tomorrow, and then they'll get to come back on Saturday and jump for their individual final.
Yeah, it's a lot of jumping. You know, it's not, the game is not won or lost on the first day. It's a lot of jumping, a lot of rounds. You know, someone might see 1 round the first day, 2 rounds of team competition, and then 2 possible rounds on the final day. So you're jumping a possibility of about 5 rounds. And, you know, if you have a jump off, you have to take that into account. That's a lot of jumping.
Well, we see Michaela Munson returning to the ring. She was first to go in the first round and just had an unfortunate dismount, but good to see her back up and riding. They look like they are back to feeling good. She's showing her horse a few of these fences. She did not get a chance to finish that first course, so this will be her first attempt at trying to clear all the obstacles. And in it now for the team. Unfortunate elimination from round 1, but her team really ended up rallying. They came in on a score of 2. They lost that drop score because she ended up getting eliminated, but they finished on a total of 5 from round 1, so 7 in total.
Yeah, and just like you said, that was so unfortunate. You know, first to go in the ring, you had the worst shadows. You know, the shadows are a little bit better. Coming to the fence that she had the unfortunate fall, and it proved no problem. So, you know, it's nice to see these kids when you have an unfortunate spill or unfortunate bad round the first time to come in with grit and determination, just like what she's doing here. She is determined to kind of get this horse over this fence and this round, and it's really nice to see them getting back on and kind of finishing what they started.
True test of mental toughness here.
Exactly, and they're, you know, I don't want to jinx them, but they're putting in a great round so far.
She is riding a very calculated, controlled ride. You can tell not wanting to really let the horse gallop, but probably for a good reason.
Yeah, it looks like this horse has a bit of a smaller stride. She's pretty aware of that, so she kind of keeps it contained, maybe adds a stride here or there, and then fires off the ground. And that was such a, you know, with 1 time fall, but that was such a great recovery. I think she should be very happy with that.
That was an incredible recovery. You wouldn't have guessed what had shaken out in round 1. That looked like a very strong ride, and I think she knew exactly the ride to put in. So just 1 time fault to carry forward into the second team competition, or second round of the team competition.
And that adds a little bit of breathing room for that team. You know, that's a great score. That's a great score to count. It may not be the drop score, so, you know, she should feel really great about putting in a really solid result there for her team.
First rider for Zone 4, Haley Guidry, up next with Esmeralda EHZ. Ride for Honor Hill Farm. She carries forward 2 clear rounds so far. Took a top result yesterday. And that's probably good for their confidence. Of course, you want to go in and jump another clear round, but having already jumped this track clear, you kind of know all the pieces. You really just have to go back and do it again.
Yeah, exactly. And that in itself is also a pressure. You know, I don't think she'll have any problems with time faults. This horse is quite quick across the ground. She needs to, you know, keep on it in the first half of the course, just like we said. And then when you round this last corner, just kind of tone everything down. The skinny to the triple combination walks in just a normal 5. So, you know, you want to get up that 5 so you can kind of collect your horse through the triple combination and then keep it collected to that last. And that was fantastic. Very quick.
Really quick there, 61:26. But time at this point, as long as we're within the time allowed, doesn't particularly matter. It's the clear round that really matters, and that's what she got. So nothing to add there for herself or for her team. So Zone 4 looking in great shape so far. It's still early in the second round, so anything really could shake out as we continue down the order.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, that should also, you know, allow her teammates to kind of breathe a little bit, knowing that they have the option of a drop score.
Amelia Burnside jumps next for Zone 2 aboard Kesper Van Het Leilahoff. She had 1 rail down in round 1.
Yeah, so she'll come in looking to possibly improve on that score. You know, kind of talk with her trainer where they could kind of figure out the best solution, maybe balance a little bit here or there, get going a little bit in another corner. Got the nice 4 to the 1. Now she's going to have to think a little bit about that time allowed, especially going to 6 and away from 6, and then nicely balanced to this very, very delicate plank, which she did very nicely.
Yeah, they are all jumping that plank very nicely.
Let's see if she can pull it home and improve upon that score. Now she's going to need to pull it together a little bit. And that was great.
Well within the time allowed. Time really not proving to be much of a contender in the second round. I think the comfort level with the course has increased. And she brings home that clear. So it's still neck and neck there at the top. 2 clears for those 2 leading teams.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of these kids seem a little bit more relaxed, a little more comfortable with this course. They've seen it once, you know, they can, a lot of the kids just kind of have to go in there and get it over with at first to kind of prove that, you know, this is a very jumpable, very doable course. And a lot of them, I think, are coming in with a little bit more relaxation or some composure, knowing that they did it the first time, they can do it the second time.
First of just 3 riders for Zone 10, Nico Alario with the ride for Estancia Farms aboard Pegasus Lewis. And we saw him just accumulate 1 time penalty in the first round, so he'll surely be thinking about that, which I think he already is.
Yeah, you can tell that he landed and went forward right away. Especially here to this fence too.
Following a similar path so far to what we've already seen, and most of them were a good bit off that time allowed. A good bit under that time allowed, rather.
And at this pace, you know, he should be pretty well under the time. You know, now he just, again, needs to pull it a little bit together. You know, he did his homework a little bit in the beginning of the course to make up for that time. Got a little rub at the skinny. Didn't come down, though. Flyer to the last, but he made it under the time.
So it keeps the score to just 1 for today. That adds to 0 from yesterday. So carries forward just the 1. And a 0 to add for his zone, which came into round 2 on a total of 21. So a little off the leading score there.
Yeah, it'll be a nice test for Zone 10 to kind of see if they can improve upon their scores a little bit and then think about, you know, the next stage, which is the individuals. He's standing pretty well for those individuals right now.
So we move on to second line rider for zones 7, 8, and 9. And an early rail there for Evan Werner and Cece Contador.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. It just seems like started a little bit slow, a little bit under pace to that first fence, and then it carried forward into numbers 2 and 3. You know, I think she needs to kind of pick up that pace a little bit.
She's yet to jump around this week without a time fault, but this is just a 9-year-old horse. So young rider and a new horse still getting to know each other.
Exactly, and that's just, you know, this is going to solidify the partnership even more, hopefully for more championship events to come. Still a little bit on that slow side, really having trouble kind of getting that horse to take her a little bit more down those lines.
Fits the 5 in nicely. It's like came in well prepared for that line.
Yeah, she rode that line really well, that last fence as well. I think we're going to add an additional time fall to that first score.
Yeah, so total of 6 there, 1 rail down and 2 time faults. This puts her on 14 total. And that zone, or that team rather, is back to having a drop score, so the final 2 riders can come in and jump clear. They would finish on just 1 for this round. They're sitting on a best possible score of 8 for the 2 days of competition, but still 2 more riders to jump before that number is solidified. We turn next to Layla Murad for Zone 4, second line rider for Zone 4, aboard Alphonsine Mancias for Leaden Ridge Farm. So she had 1 rail in each round so far. 1 rail yesterday, 1 rail today.
Got a little rub at that first fence as well, but stayed up still. So I think she's going to look to improve upon that 4 fault score from that first round. Has to keep coming a little bit through that corner, still thinking about that time allowed. Decided to add that 5 into the 1. We've seen a few people do that. Now she's got to think a little bit of that time allowed and then try to help set that horse up for that delicate fence. Think a little bit time allowed around this corner, and then same thing, think about the delicate fence. Got away with that.
Just a minor hiccup, really nothing else. Didn't affect her triple combination at all.
And pulled off a clear round.
Well, the big cheering squad up there.
You know, really sometimes luck is a factor. Plays into it.
So nothing to add there. Zone 4 in great shape so far. They're tied for the lead, and they have 2 clears so far. If they can get 1 more clear, then it won't matter what the 4th line rider does. Gina Collada up next with rider Jordan Rich, riding for Hazelbrook Farm. This is a Zone 1 rider for the other zone currently in the lead. Finished on a total of 4. This rider jumped a clear round in the first round of the team competition, carried forward 8 faults from day 1.
Yeah, so the pressure is really going to start to build now, as we just saw that second member from Zone 4 put in a clear round. So, you know, these 2 teams are neck and neck at the moment. And lucky for them, they each have the ability to drop a score still. So it's really going to boil down to these next couple riders. Now we'll see if she can kind of pull it together and pull it home for Zone 1, 2.
These riders clearly took a lot out of jumping this round the first time because they seem to really have mastered the course.
Yeah, she got away with a light rub or 2 here and there down that triple combination, but got away with it. You know, for some of these bolder horses that are going to take those riders around the course, you know, they've now seen this course again. They've seen these fences already. They might be a little bolder going towards the fence, so the riders really have to think about holding them back even more. And she did just that.
So still on a best possible score of 4 there for Zones 1 and 2. And a double clear there for Jordan. So good day for her. And we move on, or we move back to Zone 10. We have Kennedy Chang returning with Cadiz M for Odom Equestrian. She's had 2 rails down in each round of competition so far, so really looking to put the pieces back together, hopefully pull out a clear round this time around.
Yeah, I think at this point, zone 10, I think it's just going to be a test of whether they can improve upon their scores from that first round. They had some, unlucky, unfortunate rails, especially with a team of 3 that, hurts a little bit more than a team of 4 where you can drop that score. Well, so far it's looking quite good. She can just kind of keep it together again down this last line. And I may have jinxed that.
I mean, handling a lot of the really technical parts of that was unlucky, but the technical parts of that course, I think she rode beautifully and did improve upon her score, just 1 rail down. And a bit of a bogey rail. That fence 10 is a very skinny vertical, so very careful fence.
Yeah, exactly. She improved upon her score. That was a beautiful ride. That is exactly why that fence is placed there in that position. You see this ring, you don't think it really has any grade to it. It's quite level. But when you walk out there, you can kind of just feel a pitch to it. So, I'd consider that going a little bit downhill, especially towards the end gate. So the horses just get rolling a little bit. They see they're coming home. They want to pull you past that distance a little bit more. You just kind of have to hold them back just a touch more. And with that little white plank under that skinny is just a little bit confusing sometimes for the horses. They look down at that white plank and then they just forget to look up at that top rail.
Haley Honegger next to go for zone 8. Her team finished on a total of 7. So less than 1 rail off the lead there. But Haley returning with Wild Hild for Alexia Honegger. And she's on a completely clean slate so far. So it could be one of the top ones to watch going into the final on Saturday.
It's a really appropriate name for this horse. It's a very cute horse. Very bold, taking her to the fences. So, I think she really just has to worry about holding it back, and just got a little bit deep, decided to do the 5 to the 1, and just took out that front rail at 5A.
Yeah, it kind of looked like she just slightly misjudged the distance. She was going for the 4, and then the last minute looked like she changed her mind for the 5 and was a little too late to change her mind.
Yeah, exactly. This horse has a shorter stride, but it is going forward. So I think, it's just about the resistance that she places on the horse, holding it back a lot or holding it back a little.
A lot of toughness packed into a little rider there.
Yeah, she definitely is fighting for that, but just walks away on a score of 4.
So that would put her team, the team for zones 7, 8, and 9, a best possible score of 12. So if Isabella Smith can pull out a clear, they will finish on 12 for this team competition. Still have a shot at that podium.
Yeah, exactly. And a podium finish is an amazing result regardless. So I think they're going to hope to drop Evan's score if Isabella can put in that double clear ride for today.
That brings us back to zone 4, currently on a completely clear sheet for this round, carrying just the 4 faults from round 1. Alexa Curry and C Music Zed, they had 1 rail down in the first round. So looking to improve upon that score, and if she can bring home the clear, that would be that 3rd clear that they would need to be on a completely clear sheet for round 2.
Yeah, so she's looking to improve again upon that score. She has something to go out and kind of fight for. This team is looking pretty strong, though. There's a lot of sense of energy in the electricity in the air. And they're really, really excited and fighting for this.
Zone 4 is very well represented here, the North American Youth Championships, quite a contingent. Like you said, Florida being one of the states in Zone 4, there are a lot of Florida residents that are top competitors.
Yeah, and you know, this horse is one of those bolder horses, kind of taking her to the fence. It's gotten away with a few little light rubs, but she is really trying hard to hold it together. And she does.
Beautiful clear round there. So that does mean that Zone 4 will finish on a score of 4, regardless of what Taylor Finkel does. She has a drop score in hand. Of course, she's going to want to jump clear because she has 2 clear rounds so far in the 2 rounds of competition that she's put forth so far. So individually, she's still going to want to get that clear. But for the team, it does not matter what she does. They're still going to finish on just 1 rail for this team competition.
Yeah, and that has to take a lot of weight off of Taylor's shoulders. Puts her in a nice, comfortable position where she can ride mainly for herself. You know, in a Senior Nations Cup team, you might not even see that last rider compete. But again, this is a championship event where individual medals are awarded after the team event. So she does have to think about her individual placing.
Well, and it all depends for them also on how this team jumps for their last 2 riders, Zones 1 and 2. Zone 2 riders Cecilia Chatterjee and Quintano Fortuna for Oakland Adventures. And unfortunately a rail coming down there, so that could change their fate. Pressure will fall on their final rider to get that clear.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, with that rail, that puts all the weight on anchor rider Riley. You know, going in that 4th spot, the anchor position, that's already a lot of pressure on your shoulders, and to kind of make it come down to that last rider, it's kind of where you see what these riders are really made of.
Cecilia had 1 down in the first round as well. Down comes another.
You know, these horses have also jumped now 2 days. This is their 3rd round. They're getting tired. It's a long way around.
It is, and that's just an 8-year-old as well.
Exactly. So for some of those young ones that kind of haven't really been there as much, they don't really know the drill, they're just going to get a little bit exhausted.
So the horses now will have a little bit of a rest. They have 1 more day of competition that they'll come out and jump for individual medals, but that's not until Saturday. So they'll get to rest up, and riders will get to kind of go back to the drawing board, work on the things that they need to come out as strong as possible for that final day. And heading into our final line riders for each of these zones, Lauren Padilla up next for Zone 10. Diadem de Revel VG. She was a winner yesterday. She did just have 1 rail down in that first round of team competition, but we know she's capable of pulling out the clear.
Yeah, so, you know, their chances of getting on a podium might not be great today, but she still has to think about her individual qualification. You know, I think it looks like she's kind of keeping it a little bit more contained this round than the previous round, knowing that the time allowed isn't really a factor for her. So she can kind of take it down a notch, you know, package the horse up a little bit more. Looks like they're all, you know, kind of mastering that skinny or that plank at this point.
Yeah, it's interesting for how much we saw it come down in round 1. It hasn't really played the same role.
Exactly. We've seen now new fences come down in round 2. You know, fence 1 actually came down a few amount of times already, round 2.
Sounded like a light rub there at the last, but I think it stayed up. So, oh, it might not have. Oh, yes, it did. 4 penalties total. So the clear there, and 4 for the round, for the team competition in total.
Yeah, so she should feel good about that. You know, just had a really unlucky rail the first round, and then was able to just nicely pull it together and put in a beautiful round that time.
And as far as the individual standings, she's still going to be sitting in a pretty favorable spot. Of course, there will be a handful that go forward on a completely clear sheet, but it's very likely that in the last day of jumping, there might be a couple rails down by those riders. So to come in with just the one rail down is a good spot.
Exactly, and that horse looks like it has a lot left in the tank. You know, it has a lot more energy to spare, so she's sitting pretty well.
Isabella Smith and Quinca up next, rider from Zone 9.
Looks like she also put in a clear round earlier this morning. So she's sitting on a completely clear score of 0, and pressure's on her, especially individually, to kind of keep it together. She's really fighting to have to keep that horse back, and he just got a little bit bold there at that just whirled, maybe a little bit deep to that, and had that front rail down. But pulled it together just to finish on a score of 4.
So again, kind of like the one we saw before, favorable spot to be sitting in. 2 clear rounds and 1 4.
Exactly. I think there's going to be a lot of people kind of sitting on a similar score, and that's just going to keep her still up there in contention for that individual round in 2 days.
So that zone 7, 8, 9 team comes home on a total score of 16 after the 2 rounds. Or 3 rounds rather, carrying forth from yesterday as well. And that brings us to our 2 teams tied at the top for the lead. Best possible score of 0 or best possible score of 4 for both teams. Final line rider for Zone 4. This is Taylor Finkel with Sheldon. And like we said earlier, they have no pressure on them in terms of the team. This is all just riding for the individual now. As all 3 of the riders before her brought home the clear round. So even if she has a rail down, that could be the drop score, and the team will finish on a score of 4. But she is on a completely clear sheet right now, so I think for herself in the individual standings, there's still quite a bit of pressure.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, she looks like she's okay on the time. I think she kind of now needs to focus on reeling a horse back in, really pulling it together. The horse was just really clever there. He really backed himself off of that fence, and now she just needs to keep him contained. A little deep to the skinny, but he jumped in nice. I hear everyone saying, whoa. And she did it.
Another clear for Zone 4. So that's a bit of a powerhouse team. All of them, they really improved their score from round 1. There are 2 that jumped clear in round 1, 2 that each had a rail down, and all of them jumped clear in round 2. So quite a bit of resilience there.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, there, like we said, a lot of camaraderie on that team. And, you know, when one person jumps a clear round, that just electrifies the rest of the teammates. You know, vice versa can happen if you have a bad score. You know, it might kind of get the teammates a little bit disappointed. But it's, again, a team event. It's all about motivation, keeping everybody confident and excited, and Kim Land has really done a great job of that.
That brings us to our final rider in this team competition. She's the final line rider for Zones 1 and 2. And there's quite a bit of pressure on her right now, because to tie with Zone 4, she's going to have to jump a clear. It's something she's certainly capable of, because she's already jumped 2 of them in this event. This is Riley True with My Way B and V.
Exactly. So, I mean, she is riding for it. She is riding for the possibility of a jump off. And as well for herself. Keeping it neat and tidy, a little quick around that. Now she really has to kind of take her time jumping this fence, give it a little room. We hear the audience jumping for her.
A lot of very anxious onlookers.
Comes down to this final line. We hear a lot of woes. She got away with a light rub at C. Can she do it? Awesome.
Well, there we go. We have a jump off for the gold medal. We have two teams tied up there at the top. Riley True gets the clear round that she needed, not just for her team, but for herself. She's on a completely clear slate there. So zones 4 and the combined team for zones 1 and 2 will go head-to-head in a jump off, tied for the lead. So that means that zones 7, 8, and 9 will be our bronze medalists. But we will have to wait and see who our gold medalist is.
Yeah, that's extremely exciting. You know, they all now have to jump a jump-off round, so a little bit faster, but still have to maintain their clear round. You know, think about this in the long run. This is now an additional round that the horses will have to contend with at the end of this weekend. So, you know, 8 of those horses will be going into the individual finals, having jumped an additional round. That could be a hindrance for the individual, but right now this is the team day, this is the team event. You know, you have to do what's best for your team, and they're going to come out fighting.
Well, we have 4 riders currently sitting on a 0 score heading into the final day. So a few there that are going to be the ones to watch. They can put in another clear. They'll put themselves in top contention for that individual medal. But first, they put their team focus front and center. We're going to take just a very short break while we set for this jump off. And we'll see each of the team riders for zone 4 and zones 1 and 2 returning for that jump off here shortly.
Of course, starts at 14, not in play for the first two team rounds. That's the officer jumping towards the cabana coach club with the Canadian, U.S., and Mexican flags from their left turn to the red tulip vertical at number 15. They're cutting across center field and coming back to the bald eagle officer at fence number 8, right in turn from there to the left combination at 5AB.
Well, we only have a few minutes between now and knowing who will stand at the top of the podium for this children's section of the Gotham North FEI North American Youth Jumping Championships presented by USHJA. We have 8 riders back to jump off because Zone 4 and Zones 1 and 2 ended on a tie, just one rail each. So Haley Guidry is going to lead things off in this jump off here with Esmeralda EHZ for Zone 4. So it looks like it did come down to time taken. Zone 4 is going to have to be the first ones to jump off. And then have to see what Zones 1 and 2 do with that. So, Allie, it's been a very exciting morning.
It has. Pressure is on.
And you know these kids are not going to hold back.
All right, so she just did about 10 strides from 14 to 15. We're going to have a tight rollback. They narrowed up this oxer here so they could slip inside just like she did. Rolling right back to 5AB. Long gallop to 6. I think that was 10 strides, and try to slip inside and finish over fence number 1. That was fast.
That was really fast. So sets the bar high. A couple of slick inside turns there for a time of 31.91 for Haley. I think everyone watching that knows that the task just got that much taller.
Yeah, so again, everybody jumps off from the zones qualified for that, jumping off for that gold medal. But this jump off does not actually count for the individual. So if you do happen to have a rail down in the jump off, you do not carry that forward into the final individual day.
Amelia Burnside for zones 1 and 2. First rider to jump off for them.
A little slower. But she did leave out a stride and unfortunately had that down. Got a nice, a little bit of too much of a slice, I think, to that next oxer. You know, I'm sure they all saw the first person go so fast, so they're all trying to catch that first person, and it just caught up with her a little bit.
Yeah, Haley really put on the pressure.
Taking 5A as well. But again, I do believe you get a drop score in the jump off.
So not really the way that she would have hoped that would have gone, but luckily not going to impact her individual score. And like you said, might have a way to erase that score if her next few teammates can come out and jump clear.
Exactly, and this is, the whole benefit of having a team of people to surround you to, pick up if you didn't have a good round, or if you place a good round, you can help out your teammates.
Well, alternating between the different teams, so we're back to Zone 4, Layla Murad and Alphonsine Mancias. So teammate Haley Guidry really came out strong.
First and foremost, you do want to put in a clear round. And she just has 14 down the first fence of the jump off.
Kind of appeared to just not really pick up his right leg quite fast enough.
Yeah, they just looked a little bit maybe tired going to that first fence, or just not super awake yet, not in jump off mode. But now he seems like he's really picking it up. Has a light touch on B, but gets away with it.
Sources probably aren't super used to having to come into the ring for a third time in a single day, so might be a little confusing for some of them.
Exactly. So this is literally the third time in the span of a few hours that these horses have come back into the ring to jump again over the same fences they've seen. And for a little, you know, they're tired. It's about 14 or 15 jumping obstacles in that first round twice. To come in and jump about 7 more again, it's just that's a lot to ask.
So back to zones 1 and 2, Jordan Rich, Gina Collada, next to jump off. Jumped a double clear effort here today.
So Jordan's looking to hopefully drop Amelia's score, but first and foremost, put in that clear round. Does the 10. A little bit more conservative. And decides to go around.
Yeah, I think after seeing the last 2 rounds play out, knowing how easy it's going to be to have a rail or have a little mishap, she opts for the slightly safer route and the clear round.
Yeah, and know the strengths of your own horse. You know, if you don't turn as well to the right, maybe going faster around is going to be more beneficial for you.
So 39.66 is the time there, and the first clear for that team. So just 2 more riders for each team, about halfway through this jump off. Alexa Curry is going to jump off for zone 4 with C Music.
She's already winding up.
I think it's a horse she knows quite well. I think she competed here last year with this horse.
Giving it a little kick. And she's coming at a good slice to this oxer. Gets away with it, sneaks inside.
A lot of cheering from the sidelines, a lot of support there. Oop.
Sneaks just inside, loses the footing a little bit. Oh, and just has the last fence down.
That's a heartbreaker. She really fought for that every step of the way. And still overall really good jump off. Unfortunate about that last rail. But a quick time, 33.70.
Just leaves the door open a little bit for that next zones 1 and 2 to come in.
Cecilia Chatterjee up next with Quintano Fortuna. And this one, I think we saw a few signs of tiredness for this horse. Coming back to jump round 2.
Yeah, I think this was also a younger horse. So maybe her strategy is to go, you know, a little bit more conservative, but put in a clear round. But already she has the tulip fence down. Sneaks just inside after the skinny oxer. And also takes B with it. So just needs to pull it together just a little bit.
So finishes on the 8 and really makes things interesting because looks like zone 4 might slightly have the edge because they are on a best possible score of 4.
Yeah, again, it comes down to that last person. You know, zones 1 and 2 are looking to drop the 12 faults, and the best they can do seems like 8 in the jump off, and you know, it's down to kind of Taylor.
Well, and I'm not sure I can do the mental math quite quick enough, but kind of wondering.
I think if
the
she jumps a clear
round at this point,
they'll stay with 4.
Might not really matter how fast she goes.
Exactly.
I think she might recognize.
Yeah, so again, maybe her strategy is to go a little bit more conservative, hopefully put in that clear round. That will solidify gold for them. But at the same time, you know, if you're going slow and you have a rail, that's also detrimental to your score at the end of the day. If she can clear this last one, I think they have it. Oh! How's the last one?
That is heartbreaking. Well, it's not over yet, though. So that puts them on a total of 8 there for the jump off, which is the exact score that zones 1 and 2 sit on right now. So if they can bring home a clear round, it is going to come down to time. And I guess 99.94 is the time there for zone 4, 8 faults and 99.94. So they'd have to be in total faster than that.
Yeah,
Not exactly sure where they sit.
Looks like zone 4, I think in general, has faster times.
So clear and fast is exactly what
clear
they're
and
going
very
for.
fast, yeah.
That's a lot of pressure on this last rider, Riley True with My Way. And she's no stranger to pressure. She performed well under pressure in the last round.
Setting off on a good pace. And has the help of the entire audience.
Really nice slice there. She is definitely giving this her all. Little rub there. We will keep the horse careful. Oh, just to balance up for this turn.
Headed to the
This
last.
is a really excited crowd.
Oh!
And the last goes, and that was an extremely fast time. I want to say that was faster than the first one we saw put in by Haley, and it was 31:22.
Yep.
So that was the fastest time that we saw, actually, but with the one rail down, unfortunately, that is going to put them on 12 faults for the jump off and silver medal position.
I'm still not sure, you know, even if she jumped clear, I don't think their time
No, it looks
was
like
going to
107
be.
and change.
But that
they
was
would've
an
been
amazing
far off.
effort.
That was incredible. And something to be proud of there. That was
Exactly.
a beautiful, very well-ridden jump off. She definitely gave it her all. But that does mean that Zone 4 takes the gold medal here. Haley Guidry, Layla Murad, Alexa Curry, and Taylor Finkel are going to be standing atop the podium after really earning it.
Really, really earning it. I mean, looking at that round 2, they really rallied together to put in 4 clear rounds. I believe there's 2 double clear on that team. And same with, I mean, zone 1 and 2, you know, that's a combined zone. You know, they came in maybe not knowing each other, and they put in some really solid efforts as well. Up into the very, very last, they put in a great fight. So zone 4, congratulations with the gold, and silver zones 1 and 2 will walk away with.
Well, that was a very exciting first team competition here. First of 4 team competitions that we will see over the course of the week. Of course, we still have our pre-juniors to do their team competition shortly after this, kicking things off at 11 o'clock this morning. And then the first individual qualifiers for the juniors and the young riders, they will take to their team competition tomorrow. So we might see more jump off action, but regardless, it's still going to be very exciting. And huge thanks to Allie Wolf for joining us. This was a very fun class to get to watch with you.
Yeah, always. This is a pleasure, and it always is. And it was a very exciting one at that.
Well, and stay tuned for prize giving ceremonies, and be sure to tune back in at 11 o'clock to watch the pre-juniors all go head-to-head for the team portion of the Gotham North FEI North American Youth Jumping Championships presented by USHJA.
children's section of the North American Youth Jumping Championships for 2023. Before we present to our three teams and the medals, we'd also like to congratulate the team from Zone 10 on a job well done with Nico Alario, with Pegasus Lewis, Kennedy Chang with Kitties M, and Lauren Padilla with Diadem de Revel VG. Welcoming back our presentation bronze medalists, and it's the group from Zone 7, 8, and 9. Michaela Munson with Charlene, Evan Warner with CC Contador DWB, Haley Honegger with Wilda Hilda, and Isabella Smith with Kinka making up the team from Zones 7, 8, and 9. As a group, just the 2 faults coming into the first round of team competition today. 5 faults accumulated in round 2, so it was a total of 7 headed into that second team competition round today, and finishing on a total of 16 overall through 3 rounds for the group from Zones 7, 8, and 9. Again, congratulations to Michaela Munson, Evan Warner, Haley Honegger, Isabella Smith, the team bronze medalists for the children's section at the North American Youth Jumping Championships for 2023. Next, we'll congratulate our silver medalists returning and dismounting. It's the team from Zones 1 and 2, Amelia Burnside piloting Casper Van at Lelyhoff, Jordan Rich with Gina Colada, Cecilia Chatterjee with Quintano Fortuna, and Riley True with My Way B and V, silver medalist for the children's section and the team competition at this year's North American Youth Jumping Championships, coming from the Zones 1 and 2. Next, returning on horseback and dismounting, our gold medalists, and it's the group from Zone 4. Zone 4 finishing through 3 rounds on just a score of 4. Riders from Zone 4, Haley Guidry, partnered with Esmeralda EHZ, Leila Murad with Alphonsine Monsiers, Alexa Curry with C Music Z, and Taylor Finkel with Sheldon. The riders from Zone 4 earning the gold. The team competition, the North American Youth Jumping Championships. Teams is staged at the podium for our presentation. I'd like to thank Mr. Sadir Mamentov, Deputy Chair of FEI Regional Group 3, here with us for the presentation, as well as Elena Kutanara, FEI Foreign Judge for the North American Youth Jumping Championships. First, we'll ask our bronze medal team to take their place on the podium. That's the group from Zones 7, 8, and 9. The team made up of Michaela Munson, partnered with Charlene, Evan Warner piloting CC Contador DWB, Haley Honegger with Wilda Hilda, and Isabella Smith with Kinka, bronze medalist for the children's section of the North American Youth Jumping Championships, the team competition in 2023. Congratulations again to our bronze medalists, Michaela Munson, Evan Warner, Haley Honegger, and Isabella Smith. Silver medalists take their place on the podium next. That's the group from Zones 1 and 2. Team for Zones 1 and 2 made up of Amelia Burnside with Casper Van at Lelyhoff, Jordan Rich with Gina Colada, Cecilia Chatterjee with Quintano Fortuna, and Riley True with My Way B and V. Congratulations again to the team from Zones 1 and 2. Silver medalists with Amelia Burnside, Jordan Rich, Cecilia Chatterjee, and Riley True. Gold medalists up next. Last but not least, the Zone 4 team taking the gold, the North American Youth Jumping Championships with Haley Guidry aboard Esmeralda EHZ. Layla Murad partnered with Alphonsine Monsiers, Alexa Curry with C Music Z, and Taylor Finkel with Sheldon. And through 3 individual rounds, 4 riders fought free, 2 of them coming from Zone 4, Haley Guidry and Taylor Finkel clear. And through 3 individual rounds, headed into that final individual round to determine individual gold, silver, and bronze standings. But it's team gold for the Zone 4 group today. Again, congratulations to Haley Guidry with Esmeralda EHZ, Layla Murad with Alphonsine Monsiers, Alexa Curry with C Music Z, and Taylor Finkel with Sheldon. Gold medal team for the North American Youth Jumping Championships for 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would please rise, if you are able, and remove cover for the Star-Spangled Banner. Congratulations to our teams finishing in the medals for the children's section at this year's North American Youth Jumping Championships. Bronze medal team from Zones 7, 8, and 9 with Michaela Munson and Charlene. Evan Warner with CC Contador DWB. Haley Honiger with Will DeHilda, and Isabella Smith with Kinka. Silver medal team from Zones 1 and 2. Amelia Burnside with Casper Bennett Lelyhoff. Jordan Rich with Gina Collada. Cecilia Chatterjee with Quintano Fortuna. Riley True with My Way B and V. And of course, gold medalists from Zone 4 with Haley Guidry aboard Esmeralda EHZ. Layla Murad with Alphonsine Monsiers, Alexa Curry with C Music Z, and Taylor Finkel with Sheldon. Congratulations to our riders. We ask now that you remount for your victory gala. The riders now to remount for a lap of honor. Again, the gold going to the group from Zone 4 for the team competition with Haley Guidry, Layla Murad, Alexa Curry, and Taylor Finkel. And through 3 individual rounds, we have 4 riders that are fault-free. 1 coming from our silver medal team, Riley True with My Way B and V. 2 from the gold medal team from Zone 4, Haley Guidry with Esmeralda EHZ, and Taylor Finkel with Sheldon. Also one rider competing as an individual penalty-free through 3 individual rounds so far, and that's Lenier Perez for Honduras. So 4 riders fault-free in this children's section through 3 individual rounds as we close out the team competition today. Riders are remounted, and now our gold medal team from Zone 4 will lead us on a lap of honor when they're all set. Congratulations again to our gold medalists. The team from Zone 4, Haley Guidry with Esmeralda EHZ, Layla Murad with Alphonsine Monsiers, Alexa Curry with C Music Z, and Taylor Finkel with Sheldon, your gold medalists for the North American Youth Jumping Championships for 2023, the team from Zone 4.
U.S. Equestrian. Thousands of equestrians have united
to watch,
To learn,
To experience,
to compete.
in the pursuit of fairness, safety, welfare, and joy.
From the grassroots to the Olympic Games,
Each with personal goals, but all united together for the joy of horse sports.
Ride united. Ride with US Equestrian.
Normal. Nice. You can roll with that. Or you can roll the dice. Be the brave and boldly go a different way. A different wave is the risk taken by the gamers, chasing the glimmers. We're the risk takers, the loud laughers, the grand Traverse Bay late night swimmers. It's about the destination, it's about the way. And at Turtle Creek Casino in Traverse City, life is a game, and this is how